Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you another RWBY theory video. This one revolving around the ways in which semblances are being upgraded in the ever after, based on the interesting scenes we were given in episode 2, and just what that may mean for the future of this story. I'm going to admit, I am not 100% on board with this theory. I reckon I have taken some logical leaps, but this is what has come to me, and I want to see if there's anyone else who agrees with the potential of this being the case. At the start of the third act of the episode, we see the shrunken Weiss, Blake, and Yang have to fight off the red pawns and the white pawns in the Red Prince's chessboard after RWBY reveals that they are humans. And this is the first time where we see semblances used in the ever after. The majority of viewers probably didn't see that, so they had the questions as to whether aura, dust, all that would work since we are outside of Remnant, and now it's been confirmed that they do. Now, it starts off pretty simple. A shadow clone assist here, a glyphs gate there, but it's after they start getting overwhelmed and RWBY motivates them, the scene gets interesting. We see Weiss assisting Blake's escape using her gravity glyphs. Nothing out of the usual there, except we've never seen her go 100% upside down, but we have seen gravity dust do that. However, what Weiss does to herself, that is the interesting part. We see her create another gravity platform for herself before freely bouncing off of that and catching herself mid-air with her summon glyph. Now, this isn't them changing the way in which their glyphs work. You've got the black gravity, which can attract and repulse. You've got the white platform glyph, which can create steady platform without any surface needed. And you've got the summon glyph, which is intangible. So Weiss catching herself with the summon glyph means that it was something in the summon that caught her, not the glyph itself. But if you look at it, it's just a pair of wings. There's no beak coming out to have caught her. There's no claw wrapped around her. There's purely a set of wings coming perfectly from her back, almost as if they are attached to her. And these wings, they're not flapping to keep her in the air. They're not wrapped around her. They only move to fire the barrage of feathers at the pawns. So how is she being supported by these if not for them being attached to her? Meaning her semblance is being used in a way that it has never been shown to be able to. She's able to attach a set of wings to herself, which could mean in the future we actually see Weiss fly. And this is diving into the realm of partial summons, where Weiss can attach her glyph to her body and use a specific part of her enemies in battle, using wings for maneuverability, summoning just the sword from the Armagugus, not the arm attached to the sword like we've seen many times, not summoning an ice blade as crowd control, summoning the actual sword to use in battle. Oh wait, we already saw that in this same scene where they recreate the attack from Volume 1, Gamble Shroud Catapult attack that RWBY used against the Nevermore. Except this time, the ammo is Yang, holding the knight's sword. Now, I understand that she summoned the knight's arm with the sword attached. That's fine. That makes sense, because she's still summoning her defeated foe. However, can you really classify the accessories of your enemy as the enemy itself? You can summon the knight without the sword. She's done that a couple times. I draw the line at the sword classifying as the enemy, meaning that this is not in the same guidelines as Winter is restricted to. Finally, in this scene, we have Yang using her semblance. And while there isn't anything overly different about her semblance, it is merely continuing on the path that has been laid out for it ever since the Atlas arc started. That being that her hair no longer is just glowing when her semblance activates. It is literally shielded in fire to the point where in Volume 7 you can still see her hair clearly behind this flame cloak. And then here in Volume 9 the only parts of her hair that we can see are the little bits of her fringe that aren't actually in the flame shield. Otherwise, it is completely fluid. Like, you can even see through her ponytail. So, while she's not getting a drastic overhaul, her semblance has already been consistently upgrading due to her refinement of it. Now, yes, we do also see RWBY use her semblance a couple times. However, that's just the standard utilization. Her semblance has already been upgraded massively since it was at the start, so it doesn't have as far to go as some of the others could. Moving on to the ending of the episode, we see Neo's arrival in the Ever After and the ways in which her semblance are being affected. She crash lands in wherever this dark land is that the Jabberwocky seems to be at home in. And when she looks up to the camera, we get the scene from the trailer of her turning into RWBY. And then when she notices the Jabberwocky approaching her, she shifts into Cinder. Now, she doesn't seem to be consciously aware of her shifting. There's no reason for her to do that to show herself who she's angry with. She knows who she's angry with. There's no one around for the first one for her to be showing them who she's angry with. And when she sees the Jabberwocky, there's no way of it knowing who Cinder is. So why would she shift into her to show it? It's almost as if her semblance is no longer activated, but is working passively. Now, as the Jabberwocky approaches her proper, we see her Cinder mask shift off, and her semblance continues out in an area around her before dissipating. And then in the next shot of her, we see it pulse again. However, this time, it instead materializes a second Neo, and then a third, and then even more, until there are 11 Neos in total. 5 on her left, 5 on her right, and the main Neo standing right in the center of the semicircle. And then she turns, looking to the right, and the clones mirror her. Looking to the left, the clones mirror her. And they also mirror her confused expression. So she is not consciously doing this. Her semblance is acting on its own to take down the enemy in front of her. And she does just that. She clicks her fingers, and each of the Neos independently approaches the Jabberwocker. They're all in different positions from where they would have been in the semicircle, and one of them's even holding their umbrella differently. So in this episode, we have seen the 5 semblances of the 5 people who fell to the Ever After and have since shown back up. And of those 5, 3 of them are noticeably different from where they were in Volume 8, meaning that there is something in the Ever After that is causing this. Now, what could the Ever After have that Remnant doesn't? Magic. The Ever After has genuine magic that Remnant has been without ever since the gods left. We know since the Lost Fable that the God of Darkness wiped out all humanity and their magic, and the ashes of the old humanity settled to the ground, eventually forming both dust and the next iteration of humanity. And since they evolved from the dust, humans have been only able to use one power each, that being their semblance, meaning that the semblance is a semblance of the magic that they used to have, much like Remnant is the remnants of the old world. And that means that this power, which was created by magic, is a very limited version of magic, could be enhanced when it comes into contact with more magic. Does this mean that when they leave the Ever After, their semblances will revert back to the way it was? Can their semblance change from what it was in Remnant? Or is it just reaching the peak that it can be in a quicker way than it would have had they just been training on Remnant? Basically, the whole peak human ability making them super compared to what a regular human would be. But there's also the question of what could this do to Jean's semblance, because he has the furthest to go in terms of training, because we saw her semblance awaken. We saw what it was in Volume 1, that being her spinning really quickly and leaving a trail of petals, and in Volume 2, struggling to move someone like Penny to her moving 5 other people at the same time, one of whom is the person that she struggled to move way back in Volume 2. With Yang, we've seen her semblance back when it was just the tiniest glow of hair and a bit of a strength increase to what it is now. Hair completely inflamed, a massive strength increase, though it has not evolved as much as we've seen Ruby's because she already had her semblance and was in the process of refining it way back in Volume 1. With Weiss, we've seen her semblance, her glyphs, what they can do. We saw her struggle and learn how to use the summoning, and then over the course of the volumes get better and better at her summons and also finding new creative ways to use the other glyphs. So she's been refining them with Blake. She's always seemed to have a mastery. The only logical place for her to go would be creating multiple shadow clones at the same time. However, they'd have to keep the one punch limitation, otherwise they would just be the same as Sun's semblance. And with Neo, we've only ever actually seen her create a mask of herself. We've seen her cloak herself in other people's forms. However, we've never seen her create something that would move independently of herself in the show proper, only supplementary materials. So all of these could just be what the semblance was always capable of, just being brought out by the influx of magic affecting the system, which means Jean's semblance of aura amplification, which already did this exact thing. What could that cause if he gets affected as well? I guess we'll just have to find out. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.